Hi, and welcome to the channel. Here, I share Scareful stories. Stories to make you scared, make you think, make you wonder, and maybe, just maybe, make you a little more careful. If you like what you see, please give the video a like, leave a comment down below to let everyone know what you're thinking, and I'd love it if you would subscribe to the channel. I love my tiny channel, but I'd love it even more if we weren't quite so tiny. And now, we're off to Indiana for the Scareful story of Tricia Lynn Reitler and Wendy Louise Felton. Tricia Lynn Reitler was born on February 9, 1974. The oldest of 4 children, she had 2 sisters and 1 brother. Although she grew up in Olmsted Falls, Ohio, she chose to leave home to attend Indiana Wesleyan University in Marion, Indiana. This story has stuck with me because although I didn't grow up in Marion, it was where my dad grew up, and it was a place I visited often while I was growing up. Compared to the bigger city I grew up in, Marion felt so small to me and also safe. In 1993, I was just out of college and more aware of all the evil in the world, but it still shocked me when I heard that Tricia had gone missing in Marion. To me, it was a place of fun and joy with my grandparents. It's not a place where women are brutally kidnapped and murdered. Tricia was only a freshman and was majoring in psychology. By all descriptions, she was a smart student, excelled in school, and was a beautiful young woman with her whole life ahead of her. While at school, she'd written home to her parents to thank them for helping her go away to school. Her letter said, "I just want you to know how much I appreciate how hard you're working to get me here, and I know that it's not easy." Tricia made it through the fall semester, and on the evening of March 29, 1993, she was diligently working on a term paper when she decided to take a short break. From her dorm, Bowman Hall, it was just about a half-a-mile walk across campus to a Marsh grocery store. Her exact route is unknown, but we know that she made it to the store. There she bought a magazine and a root beer, and then presumably began walking back to her dorm, but she never made it back. Tricia was reported missing the next day. A pair of bloodied jeans, shirt, and shoes were found in a field near what was at times Siebold Pool and the Center Elementary School. About a quarter mile from the store, investigators also found an earring on the sidewalk. The earring had blood on it. A bag with a magazine and receipt were found by a curb. Tricia's parents received a call around midnight the day after her disappearance asking if they knew where their daughter was. Immediately, they knew something was horribly wrong. Despite years of working on the case, Tricia's body has never been found, nor has her kidnapper and murderer been identified. Her family believes that she is deceased. Over the years, different theories on who may have killed Tricia have been advanced. Police identified Tony Searcy, a fellow student at Indiana Wesleyan, as a suspect. Tony had been seen talking to Tricia on campus and was reportedly acting suspicious the day after Tricia went missing. Police never found any evidence connecting him to the crime, however, and so he was never charged. A confessed kidnapper and murderer, Larry DeWayne Hall, is often brought up as having been involved, but investigators say they are unable to connect him to Tricia's disappearance with hard evidence. Larry grew up in Wabash, Indiana, only 20 miles away from Marion, where Tricia and Wendy, whom we'll talk about in a moment, disappeared from. In the same year that Tricia went missing, Larry DeWayne Hall kidnapped and murdered 15-year-old Jessica Roach from Georgetown, Illinois, which is very close to the Indiana border. On September 20th, 1993, she was riding her bike near her home when she went missing. Jessica's body was later found in a cornfield in Perrysville, Indiana. At the time the body was found, and before it was identified as that of Jessica, Tricia's parents thought that they were finally getting their daughter back. Learning the body wasn't Tricia, however, brought up some really hard feelings for her parents. Her mom said, "We thought that was the end. We were going to find her and finally bring her home and lay her to rest, and we will be able to move on." And after the body was identified as Jessica, Tricia's dad said, "How sad to be envious of another family just because they found the body of their child." Those things really make it hit home just how devastating it is for families to not just not know what happened to their child or who hurt their child, but the utter grief of not knowing where your child is, even if it's just their body. It took almost a year for police to identify Larry as Jessica's kidnapper and murderer. Larry was out in his van trying to pick up young girls, and police began getting calls from parents complaining about the man. Luckily, some were able to get the license plate number, and the van was traced back to Larry. Larry was then questioned about Jessica's murder. He confessed to kidnapping, raping, and murdering her, but he was only ever charged with the kidnapping because the police could not determine where she had been killed, and Larry had recanted his confession. Prosecutors also didn't need a murder conviction for Larry to get life in prison, as the kidnapping charge alone carried that. He was found guilty and is currently serving a life sentence for her abduction. While he was being questioned about Jessica, he also spoke about killing other girls and young women. He told investigators that I was over there, meaning near Indiana Wesleyan University, because I needed to be with somebody. There was a small shopping center. I had a van. Larry then went on to identify a picture of Tricia as being the woman he claims to have raped and strangled while he was by the university. Only a day later, however, Larry claimed to have only been making up stories when talking about killing Tricia. When Larry's home and van were searched, police found articles about Jessica and Tricia, along with shopping lists including items such as plastic tarps, leather belts, and condoms, and notes to himself about needing to cover the floor and sides of the van, as well as a list of places to find potential victims, including colleges and parks. Years later, in 1999, another potential suspect was named. 9-year-old Megan Musgrave was kidnapped from Hartford City, Indiana, and managed to escape a day later. She was able to identify her kidnapper as Donald Renier. Donald lived less than a mile from where Tricia was kidnapped, making investigators wonder if he had something to do with her disappearance as well. Searches of his home yielded nothing, however, that could be used to link Donald to Tricia's disappearance, and eventually police cleared him of any involvement. Almost 30 years later, Tricia's parents are still hoping to bring her home so that she can be laid to rest and so that they can find the peace they need. Another family who also wants peace is the family of Wendy Louise Felton. Wendy also went missing from Marion, Indiana, and some suspect Larry DeWayne Hall or Donald Renier of being her kidnapper and murderer. 6 years before Tricia was kidnapped, Wendy was 16 years old when on June 4th, 1987, she stayed home alone while her older sister drove her parents to the airport where they were departing on a business trip. When her sister got home, Wendy was gone. Wendy vanished into thin air somewhere between 2 and 5 p.m. that day. At first, police thought Wendy may have run away from home voluntarily, despite her purse, favorite tennis shoes, and all of her belongings having been left behind. Later, she was listed not as a runaway, but as missing and an endangered person. Similar to Tricia's case, police investigated Donald Renier only later to clear him of any involvement. Larry Hall never confessed to harming Wendy, but his proximity to Marion and his suspected involvement in dozens of missing persons, as well as unsolved murders, leaves many wondering if he didn't have something to do with Wendy's disappearance. Could Wendy have gone out for a walk that afternoon, or maybe for a walk to the store, the same way Tricia had, and fallen victim to Larry or someone else? We may never know. Larry talks a big game, but in all the years since his conviction, he has yet to lead police to a single body, despite claiming involvement in dozens of cases. Larry's story is enough for a video all its own. For now, I'll end with the hope that both Tricia and Wendy are found someday, and that their families can finally lay them to rest. Are any of you from small towns where a disappearance still haunts those who live there? Let me know down below, and if you have any theories on what happened to Tricia or Wendy, leave those down below as well. And until next time, stay safe and stay careful.